If you have never experienced a near suicidal depressive breakdown, I can tell you what it's like. I had one 5 years ago. Now hopefully this isn't you, but looking back, I know it was the best thing that could have happened to me. Because up till then I was just like every other clueless entrepreneur, maniacally focused on success but ignoring all the signs, moving non-stop from one guru get-rich scheme to another, yet still completely in the dark about what I was supposed to do with my life. But as they say, that was then, this is now, and if you can hear my voice, then you and I both know we are ready to get serious about living the life we love, not just existing in it. But how do we do it? Join me as I work with hundreds of entrepreneurs just like you to learn their insider secrets, what's working now, and more importantly, what hasn't. All to help you, the struggling entrepreneur, decode what's keeping you stuck, enabling you to live better, accomplish more, and truly become the person you want to be. Hi, my name is Bryan Forsythe, and welcome to Radically Unstuck. All right. Hey, welcome to Radically Unstuck Podcast. My name is Bryan Forsythe. I want to welcome you. I want to welcome you to the show. I want to remind you that this show is a movement in the moment you decide to move forward toward the life that you would dearly fight for. That's the purpose of this podcast. And with that, I want to tell you I have a fantastic guest today, Shannon Zann. She is going to bring the fire. And with that, I want to bring Shannon on. Go ahead, Shannon, and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you do what you do.
Thanks, Bryan, for having me on your podcast. So my name is Shannon. I hail from the really warm, hot, and humid Singapore. Well, I'm actually a freelancer in Singapore for about 11 years already. So I've been doing acting, hosting, and voice overs. Yeah. And currently, because of COVID-19, I lost all my jobs. It's terrible. So I know a lot of you are probably in a similar situation. So it's been a tough few months over here. But I have picked myself up, and I am now also a smartphone video coach.
All right. See, now that's really highly useful because it is all about figuring out what you can do. And like Shannon was saying, you know, she's become a video coach. I have a friend, he lives in the Philippines, and he lost everything. Like he had a cafe, he had, you know, this acting career. I mean, he had all these different things going, and then he basically lost everything. And so he turned his apartment into a warehouse, started selling online. I mean, you know, has just turned this whole thing around, went from not knowing anything about selling, not knowing anything about any of it, to slowly but surely creating this business of, you know, of selling and procuring. And so it can be done. It is not something that has to, you know, limit you forever. There are pathways. But I mean, you know, real quick, I mean, what would you say to someone who is listening right now, and you know, they just don't know what to do? Like, what would you say was the first step for you to move towards, you know, resolution for the problem?
Well, first of all, I must say your, friend in Philippines is amazing. Yeah. Um, and for those of you who are wondering, oh no, how am I going to get out of this stuck rut, right? I'm like totally in deep shit in that sense.
Right?
Oops, can I say
Oh yeah,
that?
go ahead. The veil has been broken, everybody. Shannon cusses. Shannon cusses.
No,
I'm gonna tell the mom. All right, go ahead, Shannon.
no, I don't say that, but the maximum I go is like shit,
Ah,
like, oh no, I'm in shit, yeah. So, but anyway, no, you made me say that so many times. Um, so The thing is, I really felt so awful and so terrible, and I was so anxious when COVID-19 started. All my gigs got cancelled. There were no shoots, no events, and I had like zero income coming in for God knows how long, right? And it was terrible. I would wake up at like 3 a.m., feeling my heartbeat just going faster and faster and faster, and I can't rest well at all. So if you are in a similar situation as me at that point in time, I would really say pray, because my first thought that came to my mind was to pray. Yeah, for me, I'm a Christian, so I pray to Jesus. So whatever you believe in, I respect that, of course. So praying actually gives us hope, and especially for me, Jesus, would just talk to me in that sense, and just reading the Bible gives me so much comfort, and repeating His promises that He knows His plans for me, for you, for all of us, plans, of hope. Yeah, plans that are good. And that really gave me so much comfort and peace. So from there, then as I calm myself down, as I focus on Jesus, and I just ask God, okay, so God, like, what's in it now? Yeah, what can I do now? And I was just reminded about how actually many years ago, I had this kind of like a mission, but I was afraid to carry it out. I was afraid to share my story, which is to share with everyone how I was, I had low self-esteem. Yeah, a little bit similar to depression, like what you share in your podcast, right? But of course, your intensity is definitely way higher,
Yep.
right? So I had really low self-esteem, I felt so bad about myself, and I always felt that I was not good enough. And it really stemmed from someone who told me and asked a very genuine question. She said, she looked at me, looked at my face, and she just said really innocently, Shannon, why is your skin like a moon crater?
Whoa, no.
Yeah. And I was like, what? Like, I would never have imagined like someone would say that to me, because I mean, honestly, my skin is not that bad in that extent. Although, I have acne scars due to, foolish ways of my youth time. And I didn't know how to take care of my skin. So, but I've been going for treatments, right? For lasers, to just make things better. And my friends have been telling me, hey, Shannon, your skin looks so much better already over the years. So this came as a total shocker. I was like, like
Right?
what? Yeah, so from then onwards, my self-esteem just plunged, and to cut the long story short for now, my message as I tried to heal myself, I sought God. It was really, I recognized that I'm not alone in this low self-esteem journey. A lot of girls out there, a lot of young women out there, whether they're in your teens, 20s, or maybe even 30s and above, they feel bad about themselves. Whether people telling them, hey, you're not pretty enough, you're not tan enough, you're not fair enough, you're not tall enough, you're not short enough, you're not smart enough, you're not feminine enough, you're not masculine enough, you're not assertive enough, whatever it is,
Right.
right? There's always something that we are not enough. And I said to myself that, hey, you know what, this sucks. I can't just let, especially the young girls out there, keep thinking that they're not good enough, especially when they look at social media of all the influencers. Wow, they have such a perfect life. These girls on Instagram, wow, they're living the dream life that I want, going to all these beautiful places, wearing those gorgeous clothes, eating those yummy food, yeah, carrying those beautiful expensive handbags, whatever it is, right? And they feel that I want to be there, but I am not, I can't, and I feel awful about myself. And there are actually lots of teens who committed suicide
Yeah. Yeah.
because they don't feel good enough. yeah, and they're always being compared to someone else. So my message really God gave me was to tell people, to tell women, quit thinking that you're not good enough. You are more than enough.
Yes,
So
yes. That is,
yeah, so God guided me.
yeah,
Mhm.
that powerful message and highly applicable. It's one of the things I talk about in my book. This, especially if you deal with depression, um, because comparisons and depression will use everything it can, what I call bullets, right? If it puts,
Mm,
whatever it can, it will use to break you down, to shrink you down. And if you're
yeah,
dealing with depression, if you're dealing with, just pure anxiety, or whatever it is, and then you go on Facebook and you see these people with these beautiful lives, oh, I would encourage you, not just women, but men too, you know, because what you're seeing is Photoshop essentially. You're seeing
yeah,
the most perfect presentation, and then the other thing is when you're seeing something like that, it's made it's shifted in your brain. It can be shifted in your brain, and something that may not be as amazing as you think becomes magnified, because
mm-hmm,
of how you feel about your status, about how you feel about you. The crazy thing is in my youth, I I hung around with a lot of strippers, a lot of adult entertainers, as it were. And what was crazy was these same women that got up, and they were beautiful, and they would get up and they make money, and they're all this different stuff, but they were they still felt the same way about themselves. They still felt like they weren't pretty. They all these little places that they didn't like about themselves, their nose, their little tiny bit of fat, wherever it was. And
yeah,
so, yes, please, please hear what Shannon is saying, and be work to be okay with your physical form. And if you
yeah,
want to, if you're carrying a little bit of weight, then work if that's what you want. But you gotta start with giving yourself grace and love.
mm-hmm,
Grace and love, not hate, not revulsion. Don't feed those fires. Try to work to counter those thoughts if you can.
exactly,
And
exactly. We really have to learn to love
yeah,
ourselves.
that's the key. If we can just, you know, if we could just all love ourselves just as a start in the day, I can't imagine what the world would look like. It would look totally different. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
so speaking of ourselves, and I wanted to talk about like sort of go back in the Wayback Machine, and you know talk about how you got to where you are, sort of your journey, as it were. What were you thinking when you were 15 or 16 years old? Like, did you always want to be an actress, and all the different things that you're doing now, or did you want to be a rice farmer? Like, what was that? What was the progression?
Well, in Singapore, we don't have any farms, so no rice
Well, that
farmer.
worked out great. Look at there. See, if you'd have wanted to be a rice farmer, you'd have had to move.
Yeah. Well, I guess, being a star has been a dream for many boys and girls out there, right? So Yeah, I always imagine, oh, if only I can be famous, if only I can be a star, a celebrity, right? So, but I've never really had the guts to do anything of that sort. Even in school, when I was in drama class, I remember one incident whereby the teacher was asking, okay, so who can act in this class? And in my heart, I was screaming, me, choose me, pick me. Um, but I didn't dare to say anything because I was so shy as a
Hmm.
kid. And I'm still an introvert, although many people would say, no, you're not, you're an extrovert. I'm like, no, I am an introvert by
Oh wow.
nature. I just am an extrovert by profession. So, in school, I was, really quite that quiet kid who don't want to get into any trouble, who just want to blend into the wall and yeah, and just get through school in that sense. So it definitely did not come across my mind that I would be where I am today, being on stage, big stages, with like thousands of people in the audience and either presenting, or hosting an event, nor even acting on screen, on stage as well. So yeah.
So so what was it? So there you were, you're 15, 16 years old, you're in school, and so what were you thinking at the time? Like what were you going to do before you sort of moved into this acting stage?
I have no idea.
Well, how did you end up, like what was your first step toward acting?
Well, actually, I became a social worker right after graduation because I studied social
Oh
work.
wow.
Um, Yeah, so I wanted to study psychology in university, but when I went through the course, I was like, nah, it's kind of too academic for me. I want something that's more hands-on, which then I found social work was the perfect
Oh
fit.
wow.
Yeah, because it allowed to be able to learn about human psychology and to be able to help them with behavioral changes, with casework management, and to make a direct impact on people's lives. Yeah, so I was a social worker, and even though I had that kind of little sliver of hope of a dream of, oh, maybe instead of being an actress, um, dancing on stage, singing on stage, and acting on stage, maybe I could be a
Oh wow.
model. Because okay, in Singapore I'm relatively tall, but in the US I'm probably short.
How tall are you?
So I'm 5'6".
Oh wow, yeah, you're like typical model size for because I think 5'7" is the like at one time 5'7" was like the perfect model's height.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me just actually Google little bit quickly to see whether am I right? I'm like 8 cm tall. Um, in let's see, in feet.
Uh oh, you're talking metrics now. I'm an American. I'm
Yeah.
stupid, so I
I'm
we're
sorry.
supposed to have learned metrics, but we never did. Everybody just pretty much only knows inches.
Yeah, like I always had a hard time trying to like reconfigure it into like foot and inches and stuff. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like 5'5".
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
you're a little you're a little shorter than perfection, but I mean you know
yeah, but for an Asian in Singapore, I'm actually relatively not too bad, like above average. So yeah, and I'm slim and skinny, so I was like, oh, maybe I can be a model. But eventually that didn't work out either. So I was just like, okay, let's just be good and go through the normal path in that sense,
right.
a normal where you go to school, you find a normal 9 to 5 job kind of thing, and I became a social worker. So it was like maybe 5 years in the nonprofit
Oh
industry.
wow.
Really poor because social workers were not paid very well at that point in time.
Right.
And
Still not, as far as I know. There's social work is not what you go into if you want to make a really good living. I don't think.
yep, but things have improved for social workers already over the years in Singapore. So that's something that's worth celebrating. Yeah, so after 5 years in the nonprofit sector, I decided that I needed to go because I was burnout, totally burnout by all these nasty kids. I was dealing with like delinquents, and they would lie. Although they're nice kids, they're really lovely people in that sense. They would write notes, to me saying, "Oh, thank you, Sister Shannon," and all that kind of stuff. They would draw stuff for me. But when they're with friends outside, there's a lot of peer influence, a lot of peer pressure, and all that kind of nonsense. And so after like 5 years, I'm like, that's enough. I can't do this anymore. Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm done
done.
with it. Yeah. So I prayed, again, to me, God is very important. And so I prayed again. After 1 year of praying, I felt the peace that it's time to go. And then I prayed again, like, where next? Where next? Should I just change the company, or should I change the total entire industry, right? To go into a different field. So that's when God reminded me that, hey, remember when you were a kid, you actually loved to perform. And I was like, oh yeah. I wanted to study in like performing arts school in Singapore. But my mom was like, being Asian, very practical, traditional.
Yeah.
She was like, what performing?
Oh,
Huh?
she didn't. She
Actually,
didn't dig that, huh?
yep, not at all. And she was like, can you eat? Can you bring home the bacon with that? Yeah.
Can you bring
So
home the
I'm not.
noodle?
Yeah. Oh, so I said, I have no idea, because I was like probably like 15, 16 years old at the time. I said, I don't know, but I know I wanted to perform. So she said, no. I was like, okay,
Oh,
no.
so you asked her about. So you were 15, 16, and she was like, "No way, you can't go to acting." And so you kind of had to shelve that for what, 6, 7, 8 years?
Probably more than that, 10 over years, 10, 12
Oh
years.
wow. So there you are. You had the so what happened when you went to your mom and you were like, so I'm gonna get rid of I'm gonna kick this social work gig to the curb and I'm gonna go be an actress. What'd she say?
Well, because thankfully I was kind of old enough already. I was like 27 years old at the time. Um, she basically had no say in it.
Well, that's a
Not
that's a
not
good thing. You're like so you were basically like I'm doing it and she's like okay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not to encourage, disobedience, or that kind of stuff. But at 27, I felt that this was led by God as well. God reminded me of this, put me with people who were in the industry before. I went for courses to just find out more about the industry, and I still remember my acting instructor, who is also a director, said that, "Hey, Shannon, you actually have quite a flair for acting." And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. So I said, okay, maybe I could give this a try. Give myself 1 year to 2 years. If it works out, great, right?
Right?
If it doesn't work out, at least I'm able to tell myself, to tell my grandchildren, if I'm ever going to have them, that hey, grandmama Shannon here tried to pursue her dream.
Sure.
Yeah, I tried
Yeah.
and I failed. But it's okay, I tried. At least I have no regrets not having the thought of, what if I had tried.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really want people to take on this whatever your dream is right now, like whatever it is that you've always wanted to do, whatever age you are, you know, do you really want to live and die with that dream never explored?
Yeah.
Imagine if you're on your deathbed and you're 86 years old and or 104, whatever the number is, and you're all you can think of is what if, right? What if I had written that book? What if I had done whatever the thing is? And I dearly, dearly want you to be able to lay there and say, I gave it a shot, right? I got up off my couch. I got, to what I needed to do, and I made an attempt, and it was amazing, or it was the worst idea ever. But at least you gave it a try, right?
Yep,
And
exactly.
because you don't want to live somebody else's life, and as far as we know, you only get one. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so please, take that step and honor the dream. Feed your soul. Make sure whatever you're doing every day that you can is feeding your soul in some way. Don't just keep
Yep.
doing the same thing over and over again, because like Shannon, she was a social worker, and she did it for 5 years, and then thankfully she was like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna try it out, and you know, so what was your first gig after you get on the path, you're out of school, and so what was your first gig, and how did that happen?
Oh, for the acting part, right? Um, well, I mean, I wasn't in like a proper acting school per se. It was just like a short, maybe a 4 weeks course kind of thing.
Oh wow, yeah,
Yeah,
it was like so it was basically like a really quick down and dirty to get you interested, kind of try to figure out whether it was something you wanted to do,
yep,
and
exactly.
then you took this, and then what happened?
And then, so, well, I actually did not start right away because I had to save money first. So I stayed on as a social worker for about another 6 more months so that I
Mm,
could just accumulate, some money in my bank account, um,
right.
so that I can actually last for 1 year to 2 years. Yeah, considering that if I never got a single job at all. Yeah. So. So I think as Asians, we are a little bit, we call it in Singapore, kiasu, which means afraid to lose. Yeah, so we think of like backup plans, what's my plan B, what's my plan C, and so that we will not, go out there and then fall flat, and then like, oh no, I have no more options now. So,
Right.
I was like, okay, let's save up first for at least being able to cover my basic expenses for about a year. And so after 6 months, I fired my boss and I started freelancing. So that was in like October 2009, I still remember.
Oh
And
wow.
I just, went for auditions, went for, any castings that I can lay my hands on. Um,
Mm,
and it was tough because I had not done this before. I had to learn very quickly to be thick-skinned, to face
mm-hmm.
rejections, because you don't book every job, right? You go
Sure.
for auditions, 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 and auditions. Maybe out of like say 20, maybe if it's good, give you a 10%, 2 out of 20 auditions, right?
Yeah.
But I
So.
started with student short films, yeah,
Oh
by
yeah.
students, yeah, and I was more comfortable with that as compared to the real productions outside, because I felt like, oh, I'm not really a professional actress. I'm just, still new, and there's so much more for me to learn. So I was like, student short films, perfect. I would just go for all the auditions for student short films. So I still remember my first month, I earned in USD about $300 USD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money,
And
money, money, money.
it's not a lot, okay, but I was like, yes, yes, somebody paid me. Like in total, I mean, a few people paid me like $300, yeah, for my first month. I was like, hey, this is
Yeah.
not too bad. Yeah, I can do this. And
So tell me about like the dark times, right? So the first couple, you go to these acting class, these auditions, and so tell me about what was happening when you went to your first audition, and that night when you're sort of thinking about whether or not this is really for you, or like what were you thinking right then, and how did you get through that?
wow. Honestly, I don't really remember. because it's been so long. And but I definitely will say that my first gig on stage in a school, it was a school performance for students, for like primary school students. In the US, you probably call it, I don't know, high school or lesser than high school. You know, what's younger than high school?
Junior high.
Junior high school. So we were like, production company performing for like the junior high students. And I definitely remember my first time on stage, my legs were quivering. They were shaking, literally like shaking. They were like the knees knocking against each other. And I could
Oh
see
wow.
and hear the first row of students right in front of me laughing when I came out because I was knocking my knees. Yeah, I
Oh
was like,
my.
"Oh my God, I'm like so nervous." Yeah. But it got better. Yeah. The second time round, the third time round, as I got more used to being on stage, to seeing the crowd, yeah, and it slowly became more natural in that sense. So yeah.
So you know what's weird about that? This is always funny to me whenever I talk to actors and people that get on stage and stage fright and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, people people tend to think that being on stage is pretty much one of the scariest things that they can do. I mean, there's polls that say that somebody would rather like have a tooth extracted than get up on stage and speak in front of somebody, which is
Really?
that's crazy, right? Like you would never think. But what's really interesting is I guess Frank Sinatra is probably one of the more famous famous people that they say that every time that he got off, that he was about to go on stage, he was physically ill, but yet he would get up and he would go do it.
Mm.
And what's really interesting is that he would do it anyway, right? Like, so there was like this, there was this physicalness, but there was this strength of mind that the actor eventually develops.
Mm.
The strength of mind is such a powerful skill, and I think the point of it is that just like regular strength, you don't get strong unless you're in the gym.
Yep.
And so, you've got to put yourself, you got to put yourself in the gym, and you got to work on that strength of mind, right? So as you were saying, because now when you get up on stage or get in front of a camera, you're just like, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, totally.
So, so your first gig that you really remember was the thing. What essentially was like a junior high school.
Mm-hmm.
Did that gig go well? Did the production was the production a hit?
Um, yeah, I guess it went well. I can't remember, but but yeah, but I mean, the people were really nice, and yeah, the story was being told great. The students were able to receive positive messages from our skit, so that was the good part. That's a success in that sense. Yeah.
So, what was your biggest like? What was the one that you remember as it was the biggest production? It was the biggest stage. Like, how was that?
Hmm, the biggest production. Well, maybe I'll share one where I was booked for a musical in Singapore. I was really new to the industry. It was still my first year, I believe, when I started. And this musical, the lead actress, the lead singer, is actually a really famous singer in Singapore. She's Singaporean. She made it big in Taiwan and then came back to Singapore, and she's really well known. Yeah, and she has sang like really many wonderful Chinese songs. Yeah, so she was the lead of the musical, and it was going to be played.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to be acting, singing and dancing, at Esplanade, one of the bigger performing places in Singapore. So so it was nerve-wracking because one, oh, there's a big shot, she's like a really famous singer in Taiwan, in Singapore, in China, in Hong Kong, basically the Chinese Asian countries would know her. And yeah, and it's my
Right.
first time being able to dance, sing, and act all at the same time. So I remember I
Mm.
used to watch musicals a lot when I was probably 17 years old. And in fact, after I
Mm.
graduated from university, like 22 years old, I went to the US to like work and travel for 4 months. And I went to New York City, and I would go to watch
Mm.
Broadway musicals like every single night. Yeah, I spent a
Oh
bomb
wow.
on like Broadway musicals over there. It's a cool.
couple of grand on
Yeah,
Broadway
yeah. Of
musicals,
course, I
huh?
bought like the cheapest, lousiest tickets, because I was a broke student at the time, right? So, but yeah, every time I see those actors on stage, I'll be like, wow, they're so awesome. I mean, like it's a triple threat, right? They can sing, they can dance, and they can act. And I'm like, if only I can be one of them too. But of course, I never did at that point in time because I was so shy, and I felt that, I couldn't really sing well. I cannot act, I cannot dance for nuts. I still can't dance for nuts in that sense. Um, but thankfully, this musical that I was in, they weren't like too strict about it. That you had to be like a dancer kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who can't really dance, they would give us like simpler steps, and we would be more on the singing part and the acting part. So we just dance really simple stuff, and they would have the professional dancers doing all the major dance movements. Yeah,
Right.
so that was great. Yeah. So yeah, that was one of my biggest performance. I would say the most memorable one because one, it was with a celebrity. Two, there were like thousands of audience, and I got to not just host, be an MC, be a masters of ceremony, but I was actually acting, singing, and dancing, which fulfilled my dream. Yeah.
Yeah. So was the lead nice? Was she a nice lady? Did you guys like
Oh,
talk, or was she like, get out of the way, you peon? I'm a
no, she was really nice, thankfully. During the rehearsals, she would come, sit with us, chat with us a little bit here and there. Yeah, and she has a beautiful, beautiful voice. Yeah, even during rehearsals, when she was singing, I was just like, oh my God, her voice is so gorgeous. Yeah, I was just totally mesmerized. Yep. So even though after that, actually I was involved probably in only about probably about two more stage productions, like theater productions. Yeah, and I never really, wanted to go back to theater again because in Singapore, theaters pay really sucks. Yeah. So,
yeah, that's I don't think that's changed. I mean, especially in America, it's very. I mean, it's a true thing, and it's a sad thing that most actors on Broadway, I mean, like off Broadway, there's not a lot of money in acting, and
mm,
it's just true. You know,
mm.
there's very little. Even in Broadway, you're going to make money, but you're not going to make money unless you're like the big time.
Yeah.
That's why I
And
always
it's
say if somebody's going to be an actor, I mean, God help you, because you really gonna have to just absolutely do it for the love,
yes.
because it's and what did you find that true? Or I mean, I know you said you made like $300 that one time, and that sort of like made you see that, okay, there was a way forward, so to speak. But um, have you found that the lifestyle is is worth the effort, or is it, it's fun and the effort is enough, and then the money's enough, and kind of all together it sort of makes it all worthwhile?
Well, initially, I would say, yes, it was, great, right? Um, yeah, but for the amount of time that you actually put in, yeah, the money then wasn't really that fantastic anymore. When you calculate it and break it down
Where's
by
the
per month.
money? Where's
Yeah.
my gold-plated Rolls Royce?
No, I'm not anywhere near that yet at this point.
Right?
But I think for me, it's never been about the money.
Mm.
It's always been about meaning, finding meaning and purpose in my life.
Yeah.
Can I find joy in what I'm doing? Sounds like Marie Kondo, right? But
Hey, you preach, sister. Preach it. Tell us.
yeah. But it's really, what is your higher purpose in your life? Is it just to get famous? Is it just for everyone to know you and worship you and then what's next, right? Is it
Right.
just to get a big car, a big house? Yeah, like what's after that? So, and I would keep thinking about all these, existential kind of questions, right?
Right.
So, but at the end of it, it always I always feel that no, that's not what I want. Yeah, I can have all the riches of this world, I can have all the material items, but I still will not feel fulfilled nor satisfied because yeah, it's just empty. Yeah, all these material items are just empty. So what I realized after that as I kept seeking God was that people are the ones who are the assets in this world. People are
Mm.
the ones who make life worthwhile. And material items, material goods, money don't own us. We actually own them for a better use in that sense. Yeah, for lack of a better description. But so humans are the one who are important. Yeah. So if anyone feels hurt, if anyone is down, if anyone is sad, um, that troubles me, and I feel sad with them too. And I feel like I want to help them because they are important. Yeah, it's not about money. Oh, does money feel happy? No, it doesn't have any feeling. So, yeah, I don't have that affinity with material goods in that sense, no money. Although it is nice to earn income to live a good life, and I am, trying my best to like, oh, I need to earn more money because, yeah, I'm not like living my dream life right now
Right.
with my dream house and everything. But that's money is just a means to an end. Yeah, it is not the entire goal by itself. Yeah.
So, so speaking of money, when you finally did get to where you were making a decent amount, your biggest check, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
what was the first thing that you bought where you were like, this is just totally extravagant, like for me when I first got in the Navy, the first thing that I bought, my first credit card, I bought a Rado Zoramo. It was like a $800 watch. It's made out of ceramic. I mean, it's a fantastic watch. It honestly keeps lousy time, but it's so pretty that I basically wear it as a like a bracelet because it's. But so what was your first thing that you bought that was really extravagant?
Um, well, extravagant. Well, in terms of amount, I would probably say my laptop, my
All
MacBook
right.
Pro. Yeah, like few $1,000s.
Yeah. Gotta have the
Yeah.
gotta have good tools and it makes a good toy as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I can understand
Oh,
that.
actually, maybe I'll add on. I suddenly found something else. Um, it's my teeth.
Oh
I
really?
Yeah, I did Invisalign. I'm not sure if you know that.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'm lucky to not have any teeth, so I don't need any straightening. But go ahead.
are you serious?
Yeah, I've had 12 teeth taken out, so I'm missing a few.
Oh my God. Ouch. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I have spent so much time in a dentist. It's like a vacation for me. I just lay down and
Oh,
they take another one out. But I'm I'm just kidding. So you got Invisalign to straighten out your chompers, and I'm guessing that was I mean obviously being an actress and a speaker and stuff. I mean that's probably a pretty good thing in the right direction.
Yep. On top of like, all my skincare, lasers, treatments, visits to the dermatologist. Yeah, those were really expensive, but built over the long period of time. Yeah.
So speaking of you know good tips and things like that, and what would you say is the one thing that you want to tell our podcast listener right now that can really help them get just a little bit closer towards the life that they would really dearly fight for?
Mm. Let me just think about it for a
Da
sec.
da da na da 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 na 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 na.
Okay.
Da 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 da
Um,
da. Go ahead.
well, I think that's a really good question, and it's a question that I don't have a straightforward answer to.
Oh,
So,
it's okay. Go ahead.
but yeah, so I would say one is to definitely first love yourself. Yeah. And I mean, I am assuming a lot of your listeners over here, there is, you don't feel good about yourself at some point here and there because Brian talks about depression, right, in your podcast. So a lot of you might be feeling that way. You're depressed over something and you just hate yourself, right? So first really is to love yourself. Yeah. And if you're like me, you have some physical flaws in the society's sense,
Mm,
um, or you keep looking at yourself in the mirror and all you see are how ugly you are, not just on the outside, but on the inside as well.
mm,
I would totally advise you to stop looking into the mirror. A very practical tip is to stop looking into the mirror. Yeah, because the more you see and emphasize and focus on your flaws, the more you are going to feel even worse. So, one of the ways I actually started to feel better about myself was when I stopped looking at myself in the mirror. I stopped focusing on my skin. Yeah. So from time to time, I would still look into the mirror, of course, because I have to brush my hair, clean my face, whatever. But instead of focusing on my scars, I would look at my smile because people have said that, oh, Shannon, you have a very beautiful smile.
mm-hmm,
And I would look at my eyes because since young, people have said that you have very beautiful, gorgeous almond eyes.
mm-hmm,
And so I would just keep focusing on these two areas and just ignore the rest, you know. And you might feel that, oh, but that's because you have, eyes, you have mouth, you have a smile that's beautiful and gorgeous. I don't have anything wrong. That's not true. I used to think that way too. I used to feel that I have nothing that's worth looking at. I have nothing beautiful, right? But it is when I forced myself to really look and focus. What are the areas that I like and love about myself?
yeah.
Then I discovered, hey, actually my eyes, yeah, they're not bad. They're pretty. And oh yeah, when I was young, people have told me I have beautiful eyes. Oh yes, and my smile. Oh, I forgot about that. Even though I didn't have perfect teeth at that point in time, but doesn't make my smile any lesser. It doesn't make my smile less wide because when I smile, people know that I'm friendly and I'm happy, and they are happy to see me as well. So yeah, so focus on what is positive in you and stop looking at what is negative. So what you focus on is very, very important. Yep.
Powerful words, useful words, and they're meaningful words if you take them and you use them. Otherwise, they're just words.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
you know, just look at yourself and accentuate the positive.
Mm.
Accentuate the positive. Love yourself. This is something that I talk about every day. Love yourself radically. Practice self-kindness radically. Radically means outside and in spite of reality or the past or evidence. Start with self-kindness, self-love, and see what can come from that.
Exactly. I love that. So I just want to leave everyone with this last message, which is what I shared earlier on. Quit thinking that you're not good enough. You are more than enough.
Yes, that is powerful stuff. And so tell us where we can find out more about you, about your life, and about, you know, how you approach, you know, basically just tell us where we can find you on the internets and the Facebooks and Instagrams and such.
Well, my Facebook and Instagram is Shannon Zann, and YouTube as well. You can go search for Shannon Zann TV. And yeah, I'll be restarting my channel once again after taking a short break.
Yeah. So definitely check her out. She does have a nice smile. She does have pretty eyes. And she also has a good heart. And I appreciate you coming on and bringing your information, your story. And, you know, I encourage, you know, the listener to start working towards the life that they would gladly fight for. And with that, I know, right? But I'd really like to thank Shannon Zann for being on. This has been an amazing show. I highly appreciate you sharing all your tips and your history with us. And with that, peace, y'all.